Welcome back to the Footbox channel. I'm Thomas Hearn, and in today's video I'm going to look at the impending England striker crisis ahead of Euro 2020 this summer. If you believe reports, it is now said that Harry Kane and Marcus Rashford are both serious doubts to miss the campaign. We look at who Gareth Southgate could turn to, what are the other options, and plan B to drive England home to success this summer should the worst case happen and they lose two of their biggest stars. So let's get into this. Harry Kane and now Marcus Rashford are both serious doubts for the Euro 2020 campaign. If you believe reports, the unknown severity of both injuries, in truth, the unknown time that is going to be needed on the sidelines for both players to get over their injuries. So Harry Kane's injury happened away at Southampton. He knew straight away. I think it happened just as he scored that goal that was ruled out on VAR. He turned to the bench with his hand in the air, clutching the back of his hamstring, and it was a worry straight away. It turns out that it was a ruptured tendon in the hamstring, and it is a serious injury, and he has undergone surgery already. Harry Kane, we know, has come back before very quickly. We've seen that with his ligaments in his ankles before. He has been rushed back, but he says that his body heals quicker than most, and we've seen him come back in a shorter time frame. Some of the reports coming in are suggesting that this injury will need at least 6 months to heal. Some are advising, the top surgeons that have spoke to the press are advising that he doesn't play football again for at least 6 months. And if that is the case, he is out of England's European Championships. Other reports are saying that early April, mid-April, he can begin full training again, and he should be fit by the start of May to play the last few games in the season for Spurs, and then obviously the warm-up games for England. Now, it is a huge risk with Harry Kane, not just for Spurs, but for England to rush him back. We've seen him come back quickly before from previous injuries. What comes to mind was his rush back to get in the Champions League final squad for Spurs last year. We've seen him the season before come back from another ankle injury. Now, Harry Kane, we know his body does heal quicker than most. We've seen it in the past, but for me, it is a huge risk if he comes back from such a severe injury because of reoccurrence, and that would put him on the sidelines even further. And can Spurs afford to risk that? They've got to go out and potentially buy someone in the coming days towards the end of the transfer window. But it's England that we're talking about here, and England will miss his goals should the worst case happen and he doesn't make the summer. He was the top goal scorer in the whole of Europe for the qualifying campaign for Euro 2020 with 12 goals. And in an England shirt in those tournament games, we saw what he can do when he's on form in the World Cup. And when he is not scoring goals, Harry Kane in England shirt is very unselfish, and he drops back, and it's the work that doesn't really get noticed that I think England will miss the most, where he is unselfish and he runs himself into the ground for the team, and he draws himself deeper, which allows the wide men forward on either side. And it's those unselfish things that Harry Kane, for me, does so well as an England captain. He gets, and it is bizarre, he gets so much criticism from certain fraternities of England fans. Whether this is a club rivalry, I do not know. People are saying that England are a better team without Harry Kane. Now, from someone that goes home and away with England and watches every game live, I don't see that myself, and I think that is absolutely bizarre. And some of the comments coming through when the reports are coming up that he could miss the European Championships baffle me. And people are saying, that, oh yeah, this is great for England. England are better without him. Let's start someone else up front. Now, England may have to do that, so we're going to explore that. But at the same time now, it looks like Marcus Rashford could be injured. Now, he was injured in the FA Cup against Wolves in the replay at Old Trafford after coming on. I think he lasted about 16 minutes before he went down. He tried to play on, and it turns out that he couldn't. And since, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he will be out for a matter of weeks. But again, there is conflicting reports about how severe is this injury. We know now that it is a double stress fracture in the back. Was there underlying issues before? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has denied it and said it's a new injury. If it's a reoccurrence, could Marcus Rashford be out for longer? We're hearing reports today in some press that it could be 3 months. And again, 3 months puts him in that April bracket. If there's complications along the way, Marcus Rashford could well miss out on the European Championships. And that would be a serious double layoff for Gareth Southgate. So let's explore the options that Gareth Southgate has in front of him. He names his provisional squad in March for the friendlies against Denmark and Italy. Now, he has to, in my opinion, now. He knows he's not going to have Harry Kane and potentially not going to have Marcus Rashford. So give chances to some other strikers and now work on that plan B. There's a lot of England fans that say without Harry Kane, What does Gareth Southgate do? He's never going to drop Kane. Let's give someone else a chance. Let's give this person a chance. Those criticisms of Southgate, well, now they're going to come to fruition because he's got no choice. So he's going to have to play without Harry Kane. He's going to have to drop him as such. And these fans that want to see that will get their wish. So let's look at the choices. I'm going to start with some of the players that have been in and amongst the squads recently. I'm going to get one out of the way early, which I think potentially, without these injuries, he would have lost his place in the squad. Calum Wilson of Bournemouth. He scored 5 Premier League goals before the end of September for Bournemouth. Bournemouth have been struggling since. He's been struggling since. Hasn't scored any goals since the end of September. He's got his one England goal, which came in November of 2018 against the USA. Not really started many games in England shirt since, but he is bang out of form in the Premier League. And for me, without the injuries to Kane and Rashford, wouldn't have been in the next England squad. So Calum Wilson, if the players are injured, I think Gareth Southgate will continue to look at him, and you may well find him in the squad in March, purely because he's been in and amongst those England squads in the qualifiers. He knows how it works in training. He knows the setup of the squad, and you may well see him in there. Does he deserve to be? In my opinion, he's out of form. No. Let's look at Danny Ings. Now, Danny Ings has got 14 goals in 23 starts this season for Southampton in the Premier League. Banging form. And for me, he could be a like for like, if you like, for Harry Kane. It plays in a similar vein, sort of your more traditional, old-fashioned, sort of rough striker that's going to close the ball down, going to run himself into the ground, and he's got his hard work and adaptation this season is rewarding him with goals. I know Ralph Hasenhüttl at Southampton is looking after him, and he has said that he's not going to run him into the ground because he, for me, would be a fitness worry. If you're looking at tournament football where you're playing, a game every 3, 4, 5 days and potentially 7 games in 3.5 to 4 weeks, can Danny Ings manage that? Potentially not. However, his form dictates that he deserves a chance in that next England squad, these 2 friendlies against Denmark and Italy. And I believe whether he carries on his vein of scoring until March, and Southgate announced that squad, or not, he deserves a place and he deserves a chance to be looked at. Definitely worth a look in the friendlies for sure. Similar to Harry Kane, almost the obvious like-for-like choice, and his goals in the Premier League deserve it. He's only made 1 England cap in 2015 away in Lithuania when he came on as a substitute. Hasn't been in and amongst the squad since, for obvious reasons, with injuries. Now, he is a risk himself with injuries. However, if he can stay fit, for me, deserves a chance. The next one is the most obvious one, and I do believe that he will, if Harry Kane misses out, take Harry Kane's place as a starting front man through the middle, and that is Tammy Abraham of Chelsea. 4 England caps. He got his first goal in November against Montenegro. Again, like Calum Wilson, he's been in those last 3 or 4 squads, and I think is a shoo-in based on the Harry Kane's injury. 13 Premier League goals this season for Chelsea, and the way that Chelsea side have really come through with their youth, he's shone through and is more than likely, in my opinion, to be the first choice to replace Harry Kane, and it's deserving so. And I think there was calls for Tammy Abraham to start a few of the latter qualifiers because England, their place was there, and Gareth Southgate could start looking at that plan B. And for me, Tammy Abraham will become the obvious plan B for Gareth Southgate moving forward into the tournament should the worst case happen. And lastly, I just want to look at a couple of wild card choices. Now, for me, I'll put it as a wild card choice purely because Jamie Vardy has ruled himself out of international football. He made the choice to retire from it and focus on club football. And a lot of players do when they get into their early 30s to try and prolong their club football and improve their form by not having to travel away every month with the England team. And Jamie Vardy, well, he made that choice and, he's reaping the rewards. 15 Premier League goals this season. Would he come out of retirement? Can he come out of retirement? There's reports saying that regardless of the situation, he said that he doesn't want to play for England again. I think if you're Gareth Southgate and you know nearer the time that you're not going to be without Harry Kane and potentially another striker, you're going to have to make that phone call and you're going to have to get him in and amongst that squad just as that senior talisman, especially if he goes on to score 20, 25, close to 30 goals towards the end of the season for Leicester. That's going to become something that, you're not going to be able to avoid that conversation nearer the time where you name your provisional squad. Will we see Jamie Vardy in the March squads? I don't believe we will. Will we see Jamie Vardy in the provisional European Championship 2020 squad named by Gareth Southgate? I do think we will if the worst case happens and Kane is ruled out. I think Southgate will make that phone call and get Jamie Vardy in that squad. because it's not going to be a permanent thing. It will just be for the summer, and then Jamie Vardy can go off into the wilderness of international retirement again and concentrate on his club football. And lastly, for me, a wildcard choice that's kind of going under the radar, but for me it could work, especially if you lose Marcus Rashford as well. Gives you some options up front. Dominic Calvert-Lewin of Everton. Now, he is coming through this season. He's already beat his best tally in terms of Premier League goals. So he's on 9 Premier League goals this season. Can his form continue for Everton? He's developing well, and he's getting himself into positions where he's getting on the end of moves and scoring those goals now. And with a new manager there, Carlo Ancelotti, if he continues to give him a chance, he could get himself up to 15, 20 Premier League goals this season. And again, Gareth Southgate may not be able to avoid the pressure being put on him to call up the likes of Calvert-Lewin. And it would be a wild card. Obviously, he had to make in England a senior cap. So, you know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin for me would be a wild card choice. So those are a few names. You know, when you're listening to this video, obviously like, share, comment and subscribe. But who would you want in that England team if the worst case happens and both players are ruled out? Gareth Southgate only has these 2 games against Denmark and Italy at Wembley. These are the 2 games. He gets these out of the way, then he's got to start thinking, right, I need to name my provisional squad before the warm-up games. We don't know what's going to happen with Harry Kane and Marcus Rashford. And obviously there is pretty much half a Premier League season still to play, along with the FA Cup, Champions League coming to their climaxes. There is going to be 2 or 3 more injuries to England players along the way. And if that does happen, Gareth Southgate is going to have some, you know, problems. And who are going to be the final pieces in that jigsaw? Will someone be a wild card and be a hero this summer for England? Who knows? But anyway, guys, that are my thoughts on the England striker crisis going forward for the rest of the season. And let's keep our fingers crossed that it's not as bad as feared. But here we go. They're the options available to Gareth Southgate. Let's see what he does with it. So guys, thank you very much for listening to this video. Hope you've enjoyed my take on this. And as I say, please comment, like, share and subscribe. Thank you for your continued support for the channel. Kev's going to be coming back strong with the FPL videos again, as he always does. So continue to support him there. And thank you very much, guys. Until the next one, goodbye.